Yep. It's about that time. What's good, y'all? Soul here, and welcome back to my story mode. So, it's funny, it's actually been a good minute since I've done a video like traditionally, or I guess as traditional as you can get on this channel. I haven't done it in this style in a good while, because I've just been kind of coasting, you know, finding whatever, doing whatever. You guys have seen the channel, I've been doing a lot of different things, random things, reactions. You'll probably see the rankings video that I did before this one. It's just, you know, I want to get a little more diverse as to the kind of content that you're going to be seeing on this channel. Yeah, I like doing discussions. Yeah, I like, you know, talking in depth about my ideas and, you know, hopes, wishes, and things like that for games, but I also want to do a lot more things, which is why I'm working on a couple of projects in the background, a lot more detailed, in-depth projects that I feel like you guys might like. We're getting kind of in the range of 4,300 subscribers. So, you know, I'm going to be uploading the next couple of weeks a lot. Hopefully you guys see those. And, you know, if we can reach that, I'm going to let you in on a couple of sub-goal ideas that you guys might like. So, you know, stay tuned. I've got a lot of projects working, and I would really like for you guys to see those. But for now, you've seen the title and you have seen the thumbnail. Today, I would really like to talk about a concept. What are you doing, man? I would really like to get the chance to talk about a concept that I have been thinking about forever, ever since, well, pretty much, you know, the unsung, it's not a hero, the very forgettable game of Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. The real possibility of another Sonic RPG. Now, of course, this thought did not spawn out of nowhere. Last week, essentially, I think it was Good Vibes Gaming that released a interview that they had with director Izuka of the Sonic series, talking about a lot of possibilities and a lot of different things. Pretty much just an interview regarding Sonic X Shadow Generations, where the ideas came from, and things like that, right? And at some point in the interview, this was probably the biggest takeaway, which is why, you know, a lot of, news outlets and stuff like that talked about it, and journalists and things like that. One of the biggest things that Izuka mentioned was the fact that he wants another Sonic RPG, and that's something that he would like to see before his time at the company is finished, right? And that's huge to think about, really, which is why it was such a, like, standout comment from the entirety of the interview. You know, he talked about a lot of good things, but a Sonic RPG is something that he actually actively wants to do, right? And we know for a fact, right, that they pay attention to a lot of the things that we say here on the internet, whether it be Twitter, whether it be YouTube, whether it be whatever. They pay attention. And after that last week, everybody avidly getting excited about the possibility of a new Sonic RPG, I have no doubt in my mind that he might do what he can to try and make that happen, right? And we're getting to a new point with the Sonic franchise where I could absolutely see them giving us something like that. We could absolutely get back to the point of having some spin-offs and things like that of higher quality for Sonic, because why the hell not, right? And so, in turn, obviously the cogs were just moving in my little head, man, and me and a lot of other people, we were just really thinking about the possibility of another Sonic RPG. Now, I do say another because it's almost impossible to truly ignore. I mean, you could, theoretically, but we do need to acknowledge the fact that we did have one Sonic RPG in the past, very long ago, with Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. I hate to say it, the game was not what we were looking for, right? It was definitely a little bit underdeveloped, you know, the music actually wasn't amazing, good even, actually, and it just struggled as a concept, you know? It was definitely one of those projects where, you know, we wish more could have been done for it, but it was just an unfortunate thing that happened, and because of the, you know, lower sales and, you know, people weren't looking at it too heavily, I guess they just probably figured, like, okay, sounds like we don't want Sonic RPGs, when that technically was not the case at all. But, you know, there's a lot of things that goes into decisions like that. It could have been one thing, it could have been the other. Unfortunately, my uncle does not work at Sega, so I cannot tell you what happened with that situation. But regardless, I've always loved the concept of a Sonic RPG. I did play that game when I was younger. I wasn't its biggest fan. Like, you know, I tried my best to get through it, and then eventually I just, you know, as a kid, you know, you get easily distracted. You play it, you get satisfied, you go on to something else, right? But now, as a grown-ass man, I've come more into terms with, you know, what I prefer when it comes to my video games, and I have said multiple times on this channel, on my other channel, everywhere that RPGs are my favorite genre. No ifs, ands, or buts. I love RPGs, okay? It's very cut and dry. You know, my favorite game is, you know, Kingdom Hearts 2, which is technically an action RPG. You know, at the heart and soul of it, I love turn-based RPGs and action RPGs just so much. Just the general concept of RPGs so much, because they usually offer much deeper storytelling, you know, more in-depth, you know, focus on characters and things like that when it comes to animations, when it comes to, you know, attacks and flashiness and things like that. Look at Persona as a series, man. Absolutely the embodiment of what I'm talking about, okay? It allows that kind of freedom that, you know, it's kind of harder to do in just direct action games and things like that, right? And so, obviously, with Sonic being one of my favorite franchises of all time, a Sonic RPG would make my freaking life, man, my entire life, right? Because, you know, I look at it and I always think about how other games would work as RPGs. Hell, the Mario RPG series is probably one of the best. It is the best part about the Mario franchise for me. I love the Mario and Luigi series. I'm stupid excited for Brothership coming out later this year. Like, it's mind-boggling how excited I am for that. Like, goodness me, right? And so, for this to happen with Sonic, for this to even be a possibility is just, it's so exciting. It is so exciting, and I really hope Izuka does get to see his vision with a Sonic RPG before his time at the company has passed, right? However, there are a lot of aspects that I would like to see in a Sonic RPG, right? Now, I am very simple. Whatever they give us, I'm sure with the direction that the series is moving, they're probably definitely going to do it some kind of justice, right? However, there are a couple of aspects that I've written down here that I would like to see and talk about. Right? So, I've talked, wow, dang, I've been yammering on for a minute, haven't I? Jesus. Let's go ahead and start getting into this, right? The first major thing that I would absolutely love to happen for this RPG is for Atlus to have at least a hand in it. There's no debating that Atlus has one of the just strongest hands in the business when it comes to RPGs. They have the most delicate touches when it comes to RPGs. Persona is a certified example. The UI, the music, the designs, the flashiness, the story. Having anybody, just a handful of executives from Atlus that knows the development style for Persona games, hell, Metaphor, something like that, whatever, having any of them help in this situation for Sonic RPG would make the potential just skyrocket. Just through the roof. You know, Gumball, when he raised his hand all the way up and it smashed through that airplane, that's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of heights we're trying to reach. And giving them that kind of power, giving them that kind of backup, that extra helping hand from the big boys up at Atlus would be just excellent. And because obviously, you know, it's not even that out there to request something like that, considering the fact that Atlus and Sonic Team are both parented by Sega. So it's really not that crazy for something like that to happen. It's actually very likely, if anything. If there's anybody that we could trust with an RPG, it's the big boys at Atlus. So if they could have a hand in that, that'd be great. If it's not Atlus, fine, whatever. You know, Sonic Team probably wouldn't be the main team working on it, though, or at least not by themselves. It's kind of hard to envision that. But regardless, I would just love to see that come to fruition, and for them to give them that helping hand would be just absolutely swell, man. You guys have seen Persona. You know what I'm talking about. You guys already know the deal. Come on now. But anyway, that's where my head is at when it comes to, like, the base level of, like, the vision, essentially. The next thing that I want to make clear is that I personally would prefer it if it were turn-based, right? Because here's the thing, right? Every Sonic game that we've ever played, for the most part, has us actively moving. It has us moving around constantly, you know. Even, Sonic Frontiers is the best example of, or the closest example that we have to a Sonic RPG, where you're running around, you're fighting enemies, you're leveling up, you're getting new abilities and things like that. However, I would like the opportunity to have that situation where you're running around as Sonic, but that's actually just, you know, the overworld that you're running around in. And, you know, you run into enemies in that overworld, and then you're more static for a fight. And, you know, having it like that is probably just, I don't know what it is about having that very simple style for an RPG for me, but I feel like that gives so much more opportunity to really flesh out just designs and characters and, you know, attacks and movement and style. You see what I'm saying? Which is why, you know, again, Persona as a primetime example, you know, you see them, you know, we're running around the overworld in Persona 3 Reloaded, or what, in Persona 3 in general, we're running around Tartarus, and Persona 5 we're running around the underworld. It's been a minute since I played Persona 5. Why am I blanking on so many things? It's because I just want to talk about Sonic. But regardless, having that style would be the most interesting to me, because that would definitely, you know, just be a different change of pace, something that I think the series could definitely benefit from, especially when it comes to telling, you know, stories and things like that, and being able to really focus a lot on design that we're really going to be seeing a little bit more of. You know, I would love to get into a battle and see these, you know, the idle stances for Sonic and crew, you know, Sonic doing his little bounce that he does in some games or something like that, or maybe like tapping his foot waiting for you to, you know, pick your move and things like that. Amy with the hammer waiting to go, Knuckles with his idol, you know, just waiting to box, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just one of those things where I feel like that would be done best in something like a turn-based RPG. I know that Sonic is about moving fast and, you know, really just being on the move and things like that, but I feel like we could still make that work. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't think I'm definitely not the first person to ask for this. I'm definitely not the last, especially because, again, this is something that they did in Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. They just didn't do more. And, you know, that's just one of those things where I would just love the concept of what they had there, but with more going on, right? So that's where my head is at, because the concepts in that game are, you know, it's fun to base some concepts off of that game, especially because it didn't have the worst ideas or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I would definitely be okay with them taking a couple of examples, right? And, you know, having it being turn-based is one of those things that I'd be happy with. The overworld situation, debatable. I would probably prefer it if they had kind of a more Mario and Luigi approach, where they had the overworld and things like that, and you're running into enemies and things like that, right? But that's where I'm at. But speaking of, you know, the Mario and Luigi approach, yeah, I think I would also be very much okay if we had active time, or not active time battles, excuse me. I want time-based attacks is what I'm trying to get at, right? That's been a very, like, popular thing with RPGs, especially, you know, in more recent RPGs, to, you know, Mario and Luigi has inspired a lot, and one of the things that I've seen from a lot of RPGs, Mario and Luigi as well as Chrono Trigger, is having you continuously be active in battle and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So in Mario and Luigi, you know, you have the bros attacks, you have them doing all these crazy attacks. Even in the Brothership trailer, you can see an attack where Luigi swings his hammer and knocks Mario's hammer into the enemy, and it does like more damage and things like that. This isn't something that's unfamiliar to the concept of a Sonic RPG, especially since we literally saw one of the many things that we love seeing, you know, in Sonic, which is the team attacks, right? This is something that's happened in history with Sonic. But, like, for example, Amy hammering Sonic in his spin dash form into enemies. Perfect. Stuff like that. And us having to time our button presses to that, that's great. Literally take that attack, just reanimate it, import it, do whatever's gotta happen. Attacks like that is exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe, you know, Knuckles is punching Sonic into him or something like that, or Sonic's setting up a tornado and launching one of his friends into the enemy or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many different possibilities and combinations that they could absolutely do for team attacks with Sonic and his friends, because they have all been doing these team attacks for decades now. And so you could absolutely integrate these little timed attack things or button presses into their attacks, and I feel like that would make people a lot more engaged in the RPG. That's always worked for me. That's the reason why I love the Mario and Luigi series, because it's so engaging, it's so much fun, you're paying so much attention, and it's just, you know, it's more engaging that way, you know? Again, nothing against Persona or anything like that, you know, I'm totally fine with it being like that as well, but I feel like for Sonic, I feel like it's just too fitting to not do something like that. You get what I'm getting at? So that's where my head is at when it comes to that. The next thing that I would really like, I want them to take the opportunity for a Sonic RPG to integrate IDW a little bit more, right? Because you could see them trying to kind of make a lot of concepts and stuff like that canon from Sonic's past in Sonic Frontiers when he was running around and he would make random comments about, you know, the Babylonians from Sonic Riders, or talking about, you know, different characters from the comics and things like that. He would constantly do that, and that was definitely their way of saying, like, yeah, the comics are important too. Like, this is Sonic's history. This is a Sonic that, you know, is integrated in that world. You know what I'm saying? So I think the best way to integrate the IDW stuff, the comic books and stuff like that, into the games in a, you know, much more natural, I guess, I for lack of a better term, I think an RPG is the most natural way for them to integrate the comics and the stories and the characters in a way that's not too jarring, because we're gonna need a world to explore in an RPG, and you guys have already made so many different worlds, so many different variants of these worlds and things like that. Why not allow us to explore the world of Mobius through IDW by integrating all these different towns and cities that the comics have explored for years now through an RPG? I feel like that would definitely be one of the best ways to not only, you know, give Sonic a real world that we've never really seen in the games like that, but we can also, you know, I guess for lack of a better term, advertise the IDW comics, right? Because people enjoy the IDW comics. There's a lot of different stories and characters in there that we have not seen, you know. I personally don't even know as much as I would like to about, like, Tangle and things like that, because, you know, I'm still working on the comics myself, you know. But I think that's okay, and I think a lot more people would feel okay, you know, getting more into the comics and learning about these characters and things like that if it were integrated into a very streamlined RPG, right? It would become a lot more interesting that way. So if we can make that happen, that would be awesome. That would be a beautiful thing that I would love to see. After that, this is kind of a two-parter thing here, and the last two things that I would really need to see. Firstly, Eggman as a playable character. I love Eggman. I do. I love Eggman as a character. He's a crazy ass villain. He's awesome. I think we could definitely utilize a situation now where he's kind of on our side. You know, I think, you know, there's definitely more times where we could utilize that. They did good in Sonic Frontiers. I'm not opposed to having him on our side, but he was the one that caused the situation to begin with. I feel like this could be one of those situations where he could actually use the help of the heroes here. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, maybe he could be involved. I don't know. But I always look back to Mario or Super Mario RPG, right? That was one of the first times in a long time, I believe the first time that we had Bowser as an ally as opposed to the opposing force of the story, the primary antagonist, right? So when it comes to Eggman, we have not had many opportunities to utilize Eggman as a character outside of Sonic Adventure 2, right? It's been a very long time since then as well. So there's not been a lot of opportunities for Eggman to be a playable character. Of course, outside of like the spin-offs and the racing games and things like that. But I would like to see him be a primary driving force on the ally side, right? Does that make sense? So, I don't know. And I could definitely see a situation where he's, you know, he's still in his mech, you know, he's got his own little unique style about him. Maybe he's in his little egg carrier thing. You know, you never know, you know. I think there's a lot of concepts you could play around with when you have Eggman as an ally, right? And in that same vein, I do want to see another new antagonist, in this as the, you know, primary opposing force of this story. I just like having, you know, fresh new concepts in Sonic. And, you know, nothing against Eggman. It's not that I necessarily think he's stale, but I feel like the stories are a lot more interesting when it's not just, oh god, Eggman did this, and, you know, I don't know. It worked out in Frontiers, but only because, you know, he caused the situation, but he didn't, you know, he's the one that made it kind of go out of hand, but it turned into something else entirely, to the point where he's just like, all right, you know what? We got to do this together, right? And I liked that a lot, which is why I'd be perfectly okay with something in a similar vein happening again. I would love to see a new antagonist for a Sonic RPG. That's kind of just where my head is at with that. You can absolutely disagree. I totally get it, but come on, you and I both know it would definitely be a lot more interesting to see, you know, another new antagonist, which is something they have done for a long time now, actually. They've done that a lot with Eggman, even in 06. There's always a bigger force at work. It's so funny. But regardless, that's where I'm at with a couple of concepts and thoughts here and there when it comes to a Sonic RPG. I know this one was a little bit more of a ramble. This one's definitely a little bit on the longer side, which is something I kind of want to ease into with you guys to, you know, get some more longer content out there, because, you know, I'm a yapper, and, you know, we both, obviously you're here because you enjoy Sonic to an extent, so I think that's okay. Let's yap a little bit about Sonic, you know? So that's where my head is at with that, and I'm gonna go ahead and leave it at that, because maybe that is just me. But it is your turn. I'm passing the mic over to you, and I want you guys to tell me what you guys think about the concept of a Sonic RPG. Do you think that I'm on the money? Do you like all of the ideas that I presented? Having IDW characters and worlds integrated, having enemy or Eggman as an ally and things like that, having these time-based attacks and an overworld to explore? Or do you think that I'm off track? It should be more like an action RPG, something like Sonic Frontiers again, but maybe with more, you know, obvious and direct RPG elements, whatever. Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, yeah, it does appear to be skedaddle o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and do just that. I would like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gone, so thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!